Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Dobbs, here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and thank you guys for joining me. I'll let a couple more seconds go as everyone files in, but in the meantime, please feel free to use the chat, drop some questions. We have an amazing panel this evening that's going to share a lot of wisdom and knowledge. So please feel free. We'd love to see your questions in the Q&A, or even just tell us where you're from and where you're joining us in this evening, and we'll get started in a couple minutes. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this new, exciting series called Space is for Everyone. My name is Joshua Dobbs. I'm a quarterback with the Pittsburgh Steelers and also a certified rocket scientist. Through this series, we're hoping to shine a light on the people who have contributed to the NASA program and discuss how we can ensure that space is inclusive for all backgrounds. If you guys were with us back in January, we were excited to welcome back Crew One, and from their mission to the International Space Station. They spent six and a half months in space, taking off back in November and returning 6.5 months later. And now they are here with us today. We have Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Josh, we're doing great. Thank you for having us back. It was a great opportunity to chat with you while we were on orbit, and it's a great opportunity to chat with you here back on Earth as well. It's hard to believe that it's been about 5 months since we've been back on Earth.
Yeah. And the time really flies. It's good. I don't see you guys with your floating footballs. It's a little different this time.
Yeah.
Well, I know everyone wants us to dive right into it. Get into the juicy details. We would love to hear how your mission went in space, and also, how has it been different being back now on Earth from space?
Well, I'll go ahead and do a quick start on that, Josh. We had an incredible mission, and it's the reason for it is because we had an amazing team. You know how when you're on a team and it's just clicking, and everything's going right, you're completing all the passes, you're getting all the first downs. Well, that's what this was like. It was just one of those games where everything goes perfect for you. And so we had an amazing team on orbit. We had an amazing team on the ground that were supporting us and helping us throughout all of that. A team that came from all walks of life, all backgrounds, and so really just couldn't have had a better mission. And so very excited about that, but also very excited to be back on the ground. And for me, it's the little things that you miss while you're up there. It's the things of having a meal that's just been prepared and it's coming right from the stove to your plate, as opposed to a meal that was prepared 2 years ago and been in storage, and now you get to eat it up on orbit. So those little things are some of the things that I've been enjoying over the past 5 months since we got back to Earth.
I know it's definitely the little things. We definitely take some of those things for granted. So, Mike, we're definitely glad you can have some nice, good home cooked food now that you're back on Earth. I know a couple of your guys were able to also experience, your first spacewalk and participate in spacewalk during your time on the International Space Station. For the youth, we grew up watching various movies like Interstellar, and the list goes on. But just seeing those spacewalks, from a theatrical side. But, you guys were able to actually experience that. We would love to hear what that was like, what your EVA was, and how did you enjoy that experience, that rush?
Yeah, you mentioned having your first spacewalk, so I got to do my first spacewalk on this mission. And that is an amazing experience. There's really nothing that can prepare you for going out and seeing the outside of the space station, with your own eyes up close, seeing the Earth from 260 miles up for the first time. It was amazing. But we also had a lot of work to do. And like Mike said, we had this great team from all over the world. We added a communications antenna on the European lab. We would eventually build a structure for the new solar arrays that went up there, finish out the battery upgrades to the space station, lots of good manual labor up there. But like Mike said, this great team was able to get through it. You know, it didn't all go as planned, and that's what is amazing. That's when you really find out how awesome of a team you're working with, is how we work through those challenging times. But they all were very successful. And one of the things that maybe you don't see when you watch a theatrical spacewalk, or that you don't really get an appreciation for, even when you maybe watch them on NASA TV, is how much work it is on the inside. It doesn't always look like the astronauts are moving around very much, but even inside, before we go out of the hatch, you know, you've got Shannon running around and taking care of everything inside the station, because the rest of us on the U.S. side were dressing up the crew. Soichi and Kate were getting us into our suits and pressurizing the suits and getting the airlock down to vacuum to get us ready to go out the door. And that is hours worth of work before we even step outside to turn the first screw or to replace a light or a camera.
And Shannon, as for you, I know you were able to participate in the spacewalk during your time on the space station. What was that experience like?
Well, spacewalks are very, very busy days. As Ike said, there is a lot going on. He said it's a lot of effort to get the people out the door. It's effort to get them back inside. And then because we had so many people on the station at that time, everybody wanted the science and all the maintenance to keep going at the same time. And so those of us that were on the inside, when they were outside working, we were doing a lot of work on the space station. In fact, I think on one of them, spent my time rewiring part of the space station to upgrade our Ethernet capabilities up there. So it's always busy. There's always something going on. And it's kind of interesting when you're doing work, when you know you've got people outside, but you're being tasked to do something else. So you just can't necessarily stop and pay attention to what they're doing. You kind of have to listen with half an ear just to make sure everything's going okay, but then keep doing what the ground needs you to do as well.
Definitely. I know Soichi, he's going to be, for those of you who don't know, he's a future starting receiver in the NFL once his astronaut career wraps up. But, you know, during his time in space, he was able to utilize social media and show us here on Earth what it's like to actually, you know, look down, you know, upon, you know, the Earth from space. Soichi, as you captured those images, I would love to know, what was it like, you know, just visually, you know, looking back down on Earth and, you know, just seeing all your hard work to get the space come to light.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me. Greeting from Tokyo, Japan. It's early in the morning, but very happy to connect you. And Josh, I didn't know my career is coming to an end, and I'm happy to switch my career to Steelers anytime. Hey, by the way, for all the SNS and social media, the key is that we can share our experience in real time to all the audience who's watching up, and we are looking down at the same time. And all walks of life is just magnificent and priceless on orbit. Not just a spacewalk or the science, but the daily life. You just do the morning routine, eating and chatting with our friends and exercise. We just want to share our experience, and the social media was the right platform to do that. So every day we have taking our pictures each other, and during the spacewalk we brought out the small handy cam to capture some video footage, and all of those definitely help us post-flight. When we come close to the end of the mission, we can summarize what we learned about the 6 months. So we are using those footage real time as well.
Well, we're definitely glad you're able to share those images and videos with us. We were definitely living vicariously through each of you. I know on this call, we have a lot of youth and people who want to get into the STEM industry and even become an astronaut. And for the youth that are interested in pursuing engineering as a future career path, what suggestions would you give to them?
Do it.
Josh, I'll start off, but I know he's got some really good words he always uses as well. But and before I get started with that, if you haven't noticed, one of the nicknames we had for Soichi is the Master, and he is the master I don't know, everything, right? So not only the social media piece, wide receiver, but you name it. If anybody had a question on station, you went to the master, and that was Soichi Noguchi. He's incredible. But in terms of, getting into STEM, I think one of the things I always talk about is it's something that you have to be passionate about, right? And you're going to feel it, right? You know what it's like, the game of football. I mean, it just drives you. It's something that gets in your gut and you just want to do. And the engineering and the STEM, or the science, technology, engineering, math, all of those kind of things, the same kind of thing that would pull you into the sports, needs to pull you into the STEM fields. You need to have that passion for it, something that gets you excited, the challenges of it, the learning, how to put something together, discovering something new, whatever it is in that field that gets you excited, I think is what's important.
Yeah. I heard Shannon say, just do it, just lean into it, try, and don't be deterred by the hard work. It is hard work, but just, whether you're in the laboratory or in the gym, if you want to be good at something, you have to face resistance. You don't walk into the gym, take the weight off the bar to lift it. If you want to get stronger, get better, and eventually get faster, then you have to put resistance on. You have to work through that resistance to get stronger and get faster. That's true in engineering as well. So those classes are extremely challenging, but that's why you do them. And that's why the world is hungry for engineers and mathematicians and scientists of all stripes, because they have the capability. I'd like to break it down into these two simple concepts. Getting a STEM degree allows you to look at the world and analyze, break it down into simple problems, and then take those simple things that you understand and build them up into solutions. Synthesis and analysis. It's very basic stuff, but can be very powerful when it's backed by a good, solid, formal education. And I'll just say my three things real quick. Hopper mentioned, I always say these three things. Be resilient. Don't give up in the face of challenges, but don't just face the challenges. Don't go through them, grow through them. On the other side of it, you're going to be better. Grow through your challenges by being resistant. Be a lifelong learner inside the classroom and outside the classroom, on the track, on the field, in the laboratory, in church, in your community service. Learn all that you can. And then last, put all that together to try your hardest to be a good teammate. And hopefully your crewmates on the left or right, in front or behind you, think you're doing a good job. But if not, you can listen to their feedback to help you be the best you that you can be. Be resilient, be a lifelong learner, and be a good teammate.
And I just want to tack onto that, aside from just doing everything they said, but science, engineering, technology, math, it is a team sport, so to speak. You are always working with teams. And so learning how to work with teams and be good teammates is hugely important, because nothing we do these days is done by individuals. It's all done by teams.
I think you guys hit it on the head. I hope the youth is at home taking some notes. Just want to remind everyone, as we continue through our discussion this evening, don't forget to drop some questions in the Q&A. We have 4 astronauts and an NFL quarterback that will love to answer your questions later on in this call. Another question, I had for you. I know as I look around the locker room, I know each of my teammates past to where we are today in the NFL level are all different. And I know that's the same for you guys. So in your profession, what made you want to pursue a career as an astronaut?
For me, I'll just start off here. I'm of an age that I was pretty young when we first landed on the moon, and I was with my parents in the backyard looking at the moon coming over our house, and my parents told me that we had people there, and I just thought that was the best idea ever. So ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be an astronaut, and just sort of found the right path for me to accomplish that goal.
Well, everybody's being shy. I guess I'll jump in next. So I'm a little bit older as well, but I don't remember seeing the moon, but I do remember the early the shuttle launches. And so that was back when I was in high school, and they used to actually show the launches at school, and we all got to go in the auditorium on the little TV, and you got to see the astronauts working up in space, and the same kind of thing. I mean, it's when you see people doing these amazing things like that it inspires you, and that's certainly the case for me as well.
Well, I'm gonna start. Maybe I'm younger than the rest of the crew. I don't remember Apollo. I don't remember much about the shuttle. Actually, I'm the oldest, by the way. Hey, but the key was the international cooperation. I saw the shuttle launch, I thought, being the small country in the Far East Asia, those special pristine profession is only for the United States and for Russia. But those international cooperation enable us to join this wonderful program and learn from all the professors. I meet and greet lots of Apollo astronauts and meet and greet lots of Russian Mir astronauts as well and learn from them. And they included us as one of the partners. And that's the beauty of this program, International Space Station. The diversity, inclusion, and also resilience. Those are the key that made us pursue this wonderful career.
Yeah, like you've heard a lot of folks say, I was inspired by some amazing thing that our country did and our countries did, in pursuing human space exploration. When I was about 10 years old, I saw a space shuttle launch on television, and I didn't really understand all that it took to do that, but I thought to myself, I want to drive that machine. And I've always been a machine guy. I love, motorcycles and race cars, and I wanted to be a stuntman and a police officer like my father. And I wanted to drive a space shuttle. That's when I was younger. And then going to college and playing sports in college, I wrestled and played football. And actually while taking those engineering classes and all those science classes, that is one of the reasons that I actually wound up joining the Navy. I wanted to do something that continued to have a small team feel, doing challenging things and with a group of people in diverse places and challenging environments. And that is eventually what's going to, make it possible for me to have a shot at doing this job. And the last, major inspiration I had before applying was actually seeing Pam Melroy. She was giving a talk about her shuttle mission. She was the commander of a mission where we repaired a solar array. And listening to that talk, it was amazing technically and operationally. But listening to her talk about the crewmates on her crew and the reverence and respect she had for each one of them, but the amazing technical and operational work they did, that's when I was sold and thought, I'm throwing my hat in the ring, and NASA's just going to have to tell me no.
I love that. I love, I think the biggest thing I love hearing is just like the passion that each of you have for the industry and what you do. I know the journey to where each of you are has had, as Ike said, every journey has its adversity. But I think it's that passion that fuels you during those moments that keep you pushing. So now you're able to look back and see all that you've achieved, but also realize, you still have a long ways to go in what you wanted to achieve, and it keeps pushing you every day to be great. So I think now we have a little bit of a change of pace. I've heard you guys have a couple questions for me, so I'd love to now, I guess, reverse roles and hear from you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Hey, so we've talked a little bit about the diversity, right? And man, football is one of those sports where there is a lot of diversity on every team. Not only where people come from, but just the types of athletes that play the game as well. And so I'm just kind of curious how you encourage kids from all walks of life to come and try this wonderful sport. And try all the different types of positions, but then also how important it is to continue doing their studies at the same time as pursuing something like playing football, right? Because it's very easy to walk down the path of I just want to play football and forget about the other piece. So how do you balance that, and how do you get everybody to want to come in and try it?
I think first of all is acknowledging that you can be great in both. You can be an exceptional athlete, whether it's on the football field or whatever your sport may be. Obviously, I'm biased toward football, and you can also be an exceptional student. It's all about, the sacrifice, how important it is to you in your life, and, are you focused on the right thing? So I think one, that's extremely important. And then two, it's, following your passions. Football and space, aviation are the two passions I've had, as long as I can remember. I started playing football when I was 5, and I visited the Kennedy Space Center for the first time when I was 7. And so, I remember both of those, the start of both of those passions very vividly. And that passion is what's fueled me, along my journey. As each of you said, and I touched on, there's a lot of adversity. There was times in college, when I was getting ready for a thermodynamics test, aerodynamics test, and a propulsion test, while also, getting ready to play, in a big SEC game on Saturday. So, there's times where it was adverse and it was difficult, but, as I remember back to when I was 5 years old and first put on the helmet and started playing quarterback, and when I was 7, getting a chance to first meet astronauts who were part of the shuttle missions and, see the history of NASA, see how far it's come, and, just the 40 years until that point, and to see how much farther it was going to progress just in, my 20 years since then. I think it's identifying your passions and working hard each day to achieve those goals. You have to set high goals, and setting high goals is just the first step, but it's also then working hard and creating that work ethic, creating that consistency in your performance to go out and achieve those goals. And so that's what I encourage to youth, is to find your passions at the earliest age. If you don't find them early, it's fine. Continue to participate, continue to sign up for activities, continue to put yourself in new experiences, new opportunities. And once you find those passions, work hard every single day to achieve your goals.
I love that. I love that answer. One of the things that we get to go around and we get to share our story, share the story of going to space a lot. And oftentimes I'll share the story of how I really feel like football helped prepare me for this role as an astronaut. It helped prepare me for going out and doing a spacewalk, for example. But I want to switch it now on you, and I want to ask you, how did aero engineering help prepare you, or are there things that you've been able to take from that experience of a very challenging engineering degree and apply that in your career as a football player?
I love this question, because a lot of people think, you're out on the field doing projectile motion equations and momentum equations when you're trying to complete passes and avoid tacklers. And of course, the engineering, the math is in the game, and it's something really cool to step back from and dive into. But I think the most important thing that it teaches you is critical thinking. Playing the quarterback position is really the ultimate position of critical thinking. Every single play, a defensive coordinator, defensive players are trying to give you problems, throw problems at you, and you're forced to solve them within 40 seconds, put your team in the best situation to win, and go out and run the best play for the defense that you're given. And it was the same thing in school that I learned with engineering, from taking engineering fundamentals through propulsion, through those classes, it was the constant, you're presented with a problem, a real life problem, and you have to solve that problem, whether it's through the equations, through the concept, however that looks, but you have to continuously critically think, solve the problem. Once you solve it, apply what you learn from that problem to the next problem and keep moving forward. So the crossover is tremendous in, the thinking side of it. And so that's what I love about the game. That's what I love about engineering. That's what I've enjoyed with my time, getting a chance to spend at NASA, because it's the ultimate place of critical thinkers, all around the campus. When I got a chance to be down at Kennedy Space Center now as an intern, you're walking around and it's just innovators, it's real life problems, and people are working on it every single day to solve those problems, whether it's getting to space, which is obviously, the biggest problem that NASA is jumping over, hurdling over, or if it's simple stuff like I got a chance to be around a trash to gas group, which is working on taking trash and converting it to gas to be used in space and also here on Earth. So there's a lot of innovators. Playing the quarterback position is the position of an innovator. There's tremendous crossover in the thought process, and that's why I love how engineering helps me become a better football player.
Gosh, that's an amazing answer. I particularly loved your recognition of a defense as a defensive player to all you offensive players causing problems. That's what we do. That's our job. And I love the fact that you recognized that and gave us a little bit of credit there.
You guys like to make it difficult on us. I can't lie, but we got to do a great job of overcoming it. That's what the good ones do.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about that critical thinking and problem solving. I wish you could have seen some of the tools that we had to make to take out on some of these spacewalk. I think Ike and Soichi, both on theirs in particular, had some pretty special tools that had to be figured out on the fly, like you said, that critical thinking piece, just to get the job done. And so, yeah, it's happening on the football field, it's happening in the labs, and it's happening up in space.
Definitely, definitely. I think now we're going to turn it over to some Q&As. I know we have a lot of anxious students in the question box asking some questions from social media. So give me a second. Let me pull them up. Let's see. New to this Zoom thing. Okay. One sec. Okay. I have one. I think this is for Shannon. All right, we're all inspired. This is from Kathy from Facebook. We're all inspiring young students to believe they can achieve what may seem as impossible. What inspired each of you to pursue a career as an astronaut, and especially you, Shannon, since you were really trying to bridge the gap with girls in STEM?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when I first decided that's what I wanted to do was a time that we did not have any women as astronauts. And I think I was very fortunate that my parents didn't bother to tell me that. And so I just kind of went through life like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And so even when I first started working at NASA, there weren't nearly as many women then as there are now. But I think just sort of my personality, and my crewmates can probably attest to this, is that I tend to be very determined and somewhat stubborn about what I want to do. And so even, no, of course not. So just having that goal and sticking it out. And then when I was in high school, we really started hiring more of the shuttle flyers that had women in there. And I realized at that time, I was like, okay, I don't know how I can actually get there, but I know I'm allowed to do this and I can do this. And so I just stuck it out and depended on my friends when things got rough to help me through, whether it's solving a problem set or doing some of the hard training here at NASA. Just be determined and stay after what you want.
I think the stay after what you want, be determined really hits home. I know it's always difficult to achieve something when you don't always see someone who looks like you achieving those dreams. But I think, if you look across this panelists, we really definitely show that space is for everyone, no matter what your walk of life is, where you come from, who you are. If you're interested in space and dedicated to it, you can definitely make an impact in the industry. I think this is oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say, just looking at our crew very much shows how much NASA and our international community, how our commitment to diversity and inclusion is. I mean, because we are it right here. And so this is what NASA wants to do. And so we've got space for you if you want to come join us.
I love what you said earlier. You can do this and you belong here. That needs to be said more. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have a question from Olivia. I think this is a question that we all feel, and you guys, we would love to hear from you. And it's a really simple one. It's, what is it like looking back down at Earth from space?
Master, do you want to take that one?
Well, it's the spacewalk. You look down, you see the whole Earth. This is a journey of not just the space, but the time. All those the billions of years of history of all the lives, the plants, everything you see in front of you, and it's a sphere, and you realize that your life, your friends, your ancestors, and your children, everything depends on this small sphere with this limited resources. When you do the spacewalk, you realize you depend on your backpack, which has oxygen, air, battery, electricity, and your life is limited to like 6 hours. When you're living on the ground, you don't realize your resources limited. But even when you are on space, on Earth, your resource is actually limited. So you have to realize our resources so limited, so we have to cherish every single moment, and we have to cherish and protect our Earth environment.
Josh, see why we call him the master?
He knows it.
He knows it.
He knows it. Okay, guys. All right, we have time for 2 more questions. We're coming up on our limit. The first one is, if you could go back and change one thing along your journey, what would it be?
Wow. That's a great question. I have tried very hard to live a life without regrets. You know, that doesn't mean there haven't been many mistakes. There have been lots of mistakes. But you know what? I think with all of those mistakes, I've been given second chances. I've got a great family and support network and mentors that have helped me overcome some of those things. And so I wouldn't change anything professionally, academically. What I would change is somewhere along the way where I was just being inconsiderate, thinking about myself, and maybe hurt someone. I can't think of a specific situation, but not because there aren't a bunch of them. There's not one that I think is more fitting to bring up now, but you know, just in my younger life or even recently, if I've wronged someone, that's what I would, because that's, you know, being up in space, all of these great things that we all talk about. One of my favorite things was just being with these folks. It was so awesome to be there with them, and Kate and Sergey and Mark and Piotr and Oleg and all of Crew 2. It's the people. So if I hurt someone or did something wrong to someone, I would love to go back and identify that and take that out of existence.
I would probably say that it took me a little while to realize, and if I had realized this when I was younger, maybe life would have been a little bit different. But when you're traveling through your life and you have this goal, the path from where you are to your goal isn't necessarily a straight line. A lot of times you go on big old tangents, and that's okay, and that's actually good, because the more you learn about different things and the more you learn about the world, it is always making you a better person heading towards whatever goal you're working on. So don't be afraid to go try something new or do something a little bit different, even though it may not totally relate, because you never know when something is going to relate to what you're doing later in life. I mean, we've had discussions on station, and it's like, wow, that was just like, you know, when I was a kid and we did this, that, and the other, and now I'm doing this in space, and I never thought, you know, it would have any impact on my career. So life is not a straight line.
You know, Josh, my immediate thought when you asked that question was, I was thinking back to when we were playing Michigan for the Big Ten championship, and if I had just made that. I'm sorry, that's probably not what you. No, but you know what I think.
Offense.
Yeah. Shannon and Ike are absolutely right, but I will say, there's been a lot of mistakes that I've made throughout my life as well, but I don't know if I'd necessarily change them, because I learned from them, and that's the key, right? We are all going to mess up at some point, and if you don't learn from it, that is where you really make the mistake. And so I think Ike and both Shannon and Ike alluded to that, but I just did want to kind of emphasize that you're never going to be able to remove all the mistakes, but it's what you do after them that's really important.
I love that. You know, I think, you know, you look up here, you got 4 astronauts and an NFL player. You know, a lot of people watching in, you know, think that, you know, our journeys may have been full of perfection and may have come easy. And, you know, I think all 5 of us are living testaments of that's not the case. And I think you guys all hit it on the head when you said, you know, there's not much you would change just because, you know, whether it was, you know, something that you succeeded in or an obstacle or something that you made a mistake, it was a learning opportunity and set you up for success and set you up to achieve your goals the next opportunity you receive. And I feel that exact same way. So I appreciate you guys sharing with that, because I think that's really important for the youth on the call. All right, I have one last question. Hopefully this one's a little more fun. I know Mike alluded to it at the beginning of the call, but you guys spent 6.5 months in space. And I'd love to know, I know people on the call would love to know, what was your favorite thing that you ate during your time up there?
Soichi's Japanese food.
Hey, actually, what I want to say, yeah, Japanese food is we have a lot of variety. We all enjoy it, but the best food is when Shannon make a pak choy with grilled garlic and soy sauce. Is made by Mike, so Hopper. So even in space, this is my third space flight. I spent 335 days on space station, but that was the best dinner I had in space.
You said it.
I thought you were going to say spam.
That was my number two. The Hopper shared me. The spam is one of my favorite kids menu, because when you have a spam, your life is just happy. But yeah, the Shannon's pak choy even beats spam.
Who
It
knew
was your
we had
favorite, not what you ate the most of.
Specific, right? Who knew we had some skillful space cooks in the group? Well, in closing, thank you guys for your time coming on to speak this evening. Thank you guys for everyone who joined in. Thank you to the Pittsburgh Steelers, NASA, EverFi Character Playbook, and the Carnegie Science Center for organizing this event. We appreciate it, and hopefully you guys learned that space is truly for everyone. Hope you guys have a great evening. Take care and Godspeed.